Hello ladies and gents, welcome back. Today's video is on September's quarterly update for Diablo 4, bringing us an in-depth look at skills and talents, Sorceress Enchantment System, and end game progression, brought to you by David Kim, the lead systems designer, and Louis Barriga, the game director. So without further ado, let's jump into it.
Hell is coming.
But with items, I can break some of these rules by getting access to talents that I normally couldn't access before, or I can use them to go past my maximum talent point through items as well.
Before they jumped into the skills and talents, there was a touch on a few previous additions in the last update. The first is the ancestral / demonic or angelic powers. They said, to begin with, some of you let us know that the fantasy of the ancestral, demonic, and angelic power isn't really cool enough in the current version of the pitch, and it was duly noted. And another problem they identified was the ratio of effort to rewards. Basically, in order to gain specific minor bonuses, players would most likely have to carry around several extra pieces of gear, each with different amounts of ancestral, demonic, and angelic powers on them. And you would need to constantly calculate each of the power levels of those items and compare them with the overall power. It felt like an excessive amount of bookkeeping for the player, so they're looking at revising that. However, one thing they really liked about the system was the gameplay of managing stats in meaningful ways to hit certain bonus thresholds that would make items better suited for the playstyle that you're going for. And they need some more time for iteration / rework here, and looking forward to sharing more on itemization in their next quarterly blog, so keep your eye out for that.
For legendary items and sets, the goal is to provide as much player choice and customization as possible when forming your end game build. And in order to do that, the most important change in Diablo 4 is to make sure that legendary items are on equal or greater power level compared to set items in Diablo 4. This way, you'll have that full customization of picking every single slot which specific legendary power you want to use.
The second was legendary items, and they said they're exploring some big changes in this space for two reasons. One, they agree that with the feedback, a character's power is currently too dependent on items. They plan to put more of the player's power back into the character to make build choices more impactful, which a lot of D2 fans have been talking about, and rather having the majority of player power coming from the items they have equipped. That said, it's important that they strike the balance so that the itemization choices always feel meaningful as well. Second, they've also had very mixed team feedback regarding core itemization. They're currently looking at how to best differentiate various item qualities. For example, should magic quality items have a higher affix stats than rare items? And you can expect to hear more about legendary items in the next blog. Very happy that Blizzard is actually taking community feedback and iterating at this stage. On to the new skill system. They said, as Louis mentioned, we have made some major changes to Diablo 4's skills and talent systems, which you're seeing on screen. We've been reading through a lot of the comments from the community and agree that the talent system needs more depth. Similarly, skill system progression felt too simple, which created issues where a player would have no meaningful reason to spend their skill points, which would suck. So that's my addition. With this valuable feedback in mind, we have been iterating on a new skill system. As you can see from the screenshot below, we have separate sections for skills and passives in our freshly painted skill tree. I can't believe they used an actual skill tree. Now, this is a sorcerer skill tree, and the branches contain skills and skill upgrades, while the roots contain powerful passive effects. The upper skill section is where you will spend the skill points that you earn by leveling up. Here you will unlock brand new skills, unlock additional functionality for these skills, and unlock passive points that you can spend on the lower passive section of the tree. As seen, you can spend skill points on square nodes to unlock new active skills for your character, and you can spend points on circular upgrade nodes to enhance enchantments, active skills you've unlocked. As you explore the branches of the tree, you will find passive points. You can spend the passive points in the roots of the tree to unlock powerful effects. The skill tree you see consists of many specific nodes, a sample of which you can see in the screenshots, and if we imagine every single node on that massive skill tree affecting different skills in different ways, the path that you decide to take will determine bigger power increases and playstyle choices. So it is like the Diablo 2 skill tree in a way, except it's more branching. I'm sorry, that pun, it came out. It was so fluid, so natural. The passive parts of this system is where you find more general upgrades to your character. These effects are not specific to particular skills. Therefore, the skill tree will have a good mix of all types of different choices for players to make. One last thing they want to point out is that players will not be able to acquire every skill tree node. They're currently aiming for about 30 to 40% of the nodes filled for endgame, so that players can have a very distinct and very different ways they build out their character. There we go, we're back in the build game. Sorceress enchantment systems. Now, many of you might remember the Barbarian's unique arsenal system. This ability to carry and smoothly swap between multiple deadly weapons, which greatly increased their power. It's also really cool how that you could fluidly move through them. It's a great iteration. Now, we've also been exploring unique class mechanics for other classes. The main goal here is to have very unique class-specific mechanics in Diablo 4. We have this goal because Diablo is the kind of game where many players try out different builds or classes, especially during seasonal play. We believe that unique class mechanics with very different strengths and playstyles compared to other classes will make exploring the different classes and playing the game, of course, much more fun. For the Sorceress, we've been trying out the Enchantment System, and this is how it works. Here, the Ball Lightning skill, unlike other classes, each Sorceress skill has two possible effects. Sorceress skills can be placed into two locations: an active skill slot that every other class has access to, and a unique Sorceress enchantment slot. If you place a skill in the enchantment slot, you can no longer use it as an active skill, but your character instead gains a secondary bonus power. Now, the Ball Lightning as an enchantment, you can gain the secondary effect of a skill by placing it in an enchantment slot instead of an active skill slot. It makes sense, that's her unique power. Now, the power you gain from enchantments is extremely significant, and you can currently make builds based around your enchantments, your active skills, or even a mix of both. Now, here's an example of this system using the Meteor skill. Meteor allows you to call a fiery chunk of rock from the heavens, and if you choose to slot it as an enchantment, you won't be able to control your meteors, but they fall onto enemies periodically as a passive. Now, this skill is still under development and may differ from the final game, as we're seeing with much of this update. They went on to say, we've been testing this class mechanic for a while now, and the team feedback has been really positive. This new system now empowers you to make some interesting choices to strategize around which skills you want to slot in as an enchantment, as you won't be able to put one skill in both places. So you're going to have to weigh up your options, and it's going to give more breadth and depth to play. They're also exploring a druid-specific class mechanic as well, and they'll have more information to share on that in the future. I think personally, this is really interesting that they're going with Barbarian has a very unique skill, which of course is based on weapons. Then the Sorceress has this enchant skill, which is active and passive with spells. I'm liking it. I'm not sure how it's going to go in application, of course, but it seems promising that they're trying to add depth to the whole system, but also a focus so that you have something unique and not generic at all. Moving on to endgame progression of the system. They said, lastly, they've been working on an endgame character progression system. This important feature is going to take a little more time. It won't be in the next blog, but we want to mention it here because the other significant source of power that comes from your class. This system is intended to provide more depth and replayability than what Paragon currently offers in Diablo 3. We and many Blizzard gamers have talked about the concept of easy to learn, difficult to master. I myself personally appreciate that. As you know, I am not one of the number crunching guys. Now, they believe that the end game progression is where the difficult to master component will come out and should meet the expectations of most hardcore Diablo players out there, which as it should. If you want to be an end game player and sink hundreds of hours into a game, you need that meat on the bone. So this, of course, is very wise. They went on to say, we're excited to read through the feedback from the community regarding our revamped skill and talent system, as well as our new Sorceress enchantment system. We are always reading the comments on our forums, Reddit, social media and more for your feedback. They should check out YouTube comments. Shameless plug. As always, please remember that none of this is final as the game is still actively in development. Your constructive discussions around these features will help Diablo 4's development the most, and we greatly appreciate all of your continued support and discussion related to the game. We'll see you in our next quarterly update as we dive deeper into some of the itemization changes that we have coming. Thanks again, David Kim, lead system designer for Diablo 4. This has been a really promising update. Not, whether you agree with some of the skills, the enchantments, or even just the skill tree in general, I think that it is important that this game is still actively in development. We all want Diablo 4 to come out, but clearly if they're listening to the community and the more vocal you are in a positive way, just to ensure that they listen, that they will change the game actively, because a lot of people were saying that the system felt limp, that there wasn't enough meat on the bones, the angelic demonic powers just seemed like they were all focused on the items. Who wants to carry 147 items just to have some type of potency, especially in endgame when those numbers, the slivers, make sense? And obviously people don't want generic characters, they want to have unique builds so that they can show off, they can have pride in what they choose, because 30 to 40% of skills maximum across the tree means that your choices again will be important. But what do you think? Have I missed anything? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you want to join an awesome Diablo 4 community, by all means check out Discord, which is linked in the description, as well as this quarterly update, and join the crusade. We have over 450 members and need all the bodies we can get to take on the Lords of Hell. Thanks for watching, and as always, until next time, Traveler.